Thanks, Alistair, for the opportunity to come out here and visit with this group and introduce Partners in Aviation and PIA Managed Co-Ownership. It's really a pleasure to be here, to be able to visit with you here. I've been in the industry 37 years, 35 years selling new airplanes, and for 35 years, I tried to talk people out of partnerships because while I thought the math was good, I thought the structure wasn't, and inevitably it would end bad. And 80% of all partnerships do end up going afoul. The problem has never been the math of partnerships. The problem has always been the structure or lack thereof, and any easy way to facilitate bringing a partnership together. So the last 2 years, we brought together a team and started to try to analyze that program to see if we could bring a structure that would allow for co-ownership, managed co-ownership. And I'd like to introduce you to that program.
Beneficial both in schedule and in cost. You can afford sole ownership, but you don't fly enough hours a year to justify the cost. Options like supplemental charter of your aircraft just don't make sense, while fractional and membership models increase your cost per hour. Neither is ideal. The most cost-effective solution is to partner, but self-managed partnerships often end poorly. Introducing a new way to partner. Partners in Aviation. Think of us as your business aircraft matchmaker, pairing you with the right co-owner and the right aircraft for your mission. And through our managed co-ownership model, you gain the security you need with accessibility comparable to sole ownership at half the cost. But what is PIA Managed Co-Ownership? Managed, a designated professional management company protecting the interests of both parties. Plus, our unique scheduling with bi-weekly control and incentivized sharing gives you unparalleled access to your plane, typically 25 days a month. Co-ownership. We match you with a vetted and qualified co-owner and assist in the acquisition of your dream aircraft, all under an agreement that provides comprehensive protection and a defined term with options for exit, continuation, and upgrade. All structured entirely by Partners in Aviation. Opportunities across the nation are growing daily. Are you ready to find your match? PIA Managed Co-Ownership, the wisest model of aircraft ownership. Schedule a consult today.
So basically what this is in its simplest form is we are Match.com for business aircraft. We bring together two and only two operators to share in a Part 91 operation of one airplane regionally. When we first started going down this road of putting the program together, we sought the counsel of some of the smartest and most established players in the industry, and we asked them to vet the program for us, tell us where it worked, where it didn't, and if they saw it as a fit for potential growth for their companies and what they did, and if they saw it as a solution for some of their customers, we asked them to come on board and be part of the team. And I'm happy to say that we've put together a strong industry group, and we are looking to continue to build that strategic partnership group with the best players in the industry here. This is what a match looks like. So, and the way this starts is somebody comes into our funnel asking, how does this work? Do I fit? And if at the end of that conversation they do decide to go forward, then we mine for co-owner B. It's geographically based, and we bring the two together. We jokingly say that initially we start the process as Match.com, and then once we have a match, we hand that off to an aircraft manager, a strategic partner of ours. We're not in the aircraft management business. We don't want to be in the aircraft management business, but we want to partner with the strongest aircraft managers in the business. But we hand that match off, and then the three parties come together, and we change from Match.com to It's Just Lunch. And we sit down at the table, and we see if we really have a strong match here, geographically and structurally. And when we do, at that point, if all parties agree, then we move forward with a match. And then from that point on, there's very little communication between these two co-owners. At that point, it runs more like a fractional, where everything runs through that manager. They take care of all the invoicing, they take care of the master schedule, they oversee the maintenance, they employ the crew. So they really are the heart and soul of the match going forward. It works because the math works. The math of partnerships has always been a compelling argument. It's been lack of structure. And the second reason it works is because we limit it to two owners, only two, and our typical owner is flying 150 hours a year, so that equates to about 3, 4, maybe 5 days a month that they're using their airplane. These are not operators flying 15 to 20 days a month. Because we limit it to those two, because we don't allow third-party charter, we don't allow any third-party dry lease, it allows us to have access comparable to sole ownership. They'll have access to their airplane, typically 25 out of every 30 days. The way it works is the big numbers are split in half between the two. The acquisition, all of the fixed costs are split 50-50. We program the airplanes up where we can so that the direct operating costs are then paid individually by each co-owner, and the manager handles all of that. This is all straight Part 91. Whenever we're dealing with the customers that are coming into our funnel, they're looking typically at 4 options that might fit what they're looking to do. Certainly they're going to look at fractional membership programs and jet cards. And to my way of thinking, that's a service that is really second to none in what can provide some customers, because you've got an airplane that never breaks, you've got a crew that's never sick or quits, you've got an airplane that's based at every airport in the country. But you pay for that service, you pay for that infrastructure, so it's not inexpensive. And when some of these operators start to get to that point of pushing 100 hours of usage, they start looking at different options. And they start looking at potentially buying their own airplane. And of course, when they get into that venture, they swallow hard at the numbers that we provide them as an industry for what it really takes to operate an airplane. So they start considering, if I did that, how could I mitigate my costs? And usually the first path that they investigate is partnering with a 135 operator and at least reducing to some level that overhead, which it does. But for some folks, chartering their airplane is just not going to be an option, and you know those folks. And for others, what they've learned is the advantage of the charter on their airplane really is more of a psychological play than a financial play. So cutting the big numbers in half will always win the day in terms of the cost analysis of their options. The question is, could we put together a structure that really would allow for success in partnerships, because there had not been one up till now? The key to that for our program and for the folks in the program so far has been access. The operators are the way we do the calendar is each of the two co-owners has total control of the schedule every second week, all 7 days, and then they have incentivized access on the off week with their co-owner partner, because that co-owner partner, again, is using his airplane maybe 4 or 5 days a month, and with that incentivized access, they're getting access to their airplane 25 out of 30 days. There typically will be still 2 or 3 conflicts a year in this scenario, but we have a management company involved in this match that has a solution for those conflicts. And the play is not to spend $10 million on the $10 million airplane for those 2 or 3 conflicts. The play is to spend $5 million on the $10 million airplane and have the management company there for that occasional conflict. This is not a partnership. It's not legally a partnership, and it's not structurally a partnership. It's managed co-ownership. The 4 areas of DIY partnership that we attacked and really changed are how the aircraft is owned, how it's shared, the plan for exit, and how you are stayed secure from the other co-owner. Each of these really deserve about 10 minutes of explanation, so I won't do that now, but I'd be happy to go through that. But this is the areas we changed from the standard partnership model. I will mention on how the aircraft is owned, it's very much like a fractional in that the entities have no connection to each other, and each co-owner will handle his tax and his title totally separate from the other co-owner, as if he was a sole owner. Our sweet spot for the operators coming into our program is really 100 to 150 hours. We've got some operators today that are flying 75 hours, and on the high end, we've got operators pushing 175 hours. But we really are working in that space from 100 to 150 hour a year operators. The guys flying in the 50-hour space, I think, have better options from programs in this room. And the guys flying, north of 200 hours, I think are going to be candidates for whole owners. But this is where we play, is in that 100 to 150 hour year space. And I would venture that everybody in the room knows some players in that space. There's enough room there. We've brought in customers from several different categories into the program now. We've got current customers who were jet card users and got to that level in usage where it made sense to start investigating ownership models and came into our program. We've got owner pilots who have been moving up the chain in aircraft ownership, and as you know, as these guys go from turboprops to the light jet world to the next level of light jet, every step up typically goes 3x up in purchase price in our world, so they're looking for ways to get them to that next level. We've had some charter customers who also had gotten to the point of enough charter usage that they started investigating ownership models and came into the program. This fourth one is an area that was really a little bit unexpected to the degree it's come in, and that's current owners of airplanes who find themselves using their airplane 100 hours a year. And instead of selling the airplane, they've brought us in to bring in a co-owner for the airplane they own. We actually have several right now in South Florida. We have in this area here, we have a Lear 45, a Citation 10, and a CJ4 Istvan, where we have the current owner looking for us to bring the match to him, and we've completed some of those already as well. And then we've had some folks that had not done anything yet, but had been investigating jet cards and fractional, and came into our model. So we're getting folks from all different scenarios. It's been a little bit of an adventure to try to bring a new model, I think, to any industry, but certainly to this industry, to break in with what's relatively a new concept. It's a tough discussion when you get somebody to the point of saying, this sounds like this is going to fit for me. How many of these do you have? And you say, well, counting you, this is going to be one, but we are going to be there to service you like you can't believe. And usually the next comment is, give us a call when you grow up. I should have, if I'd have been on my game in the early days, I would have used the Kenny Dichter line to say we're approaching our 5,000th member, but I wasn't quick enough to come up with that line at the time. So this map looked a lot different a year ago. When I was here introducing the program really for the first time, it was very sparse. But I'm happy to say now we've got real opportunities just about everywhere in the country for this model. We've got airplanes flying, multiple airplanes flying on the West Coast now. We've got multiple airplanes flying on the East Coast now. We've got two airplanes flying in South Florida now, up and flying. We've sold new airplanes and we've sold used airplanes. We've matched 2 backseat guys. We have matched 2 co-owner pilots. And we've matched a backseat guy and an owner pilot. So the program is now genuinely off and running. The model works. We have customers that, if you've got a customer who wants to speak to somebody who's been down this road, we can do that now. And I'd like to have you hear it from one of our customers who has owned several airplanes in his career, and in fact has been a partner prior to coming to us for his next airplane.
My name's Rick McLeod, and we decided, hey, let's get into the little jet world. And so I started looking for a CJ. And so I found a really nice CJ. We made the acquisition, but what I started finding was I'm only gonna fly 80 to 100 hours, and the plane's sitting a lot. And since I had such a good partnership experience, I wanted to recreate that. And I didn't know how to do that myself, so I started with Partners in Aviation. And that's how I met Mark, and he started creating just a phenomenal partnership deal for me. He knew how to match people. And my first one was I just got lucky. I didn't think I'd get lucky again, so I wanted to use somebody that knew how to do it professionally. Everything I had set up before, but he had enhancements to it that I didn't think of. And his whole scheduling and how you share the plane, it just worked out perfect. He had that solution done. It's an advantage to you to let your partner use it. And he had a really good formal way of creating that partnership so I could use a plane 90-95% of the time and only pay for 55-60% of it. Because you hear all the horror stories of partners and that. And I really wanted somebody vetted. And Partners in Aviation had a really strong vetting process. I have to say, I've closed a few planes, and this process, Partners in Aviation just took care of it. He made it so easy for us. Do some DocuSigns and the plane was closed. And all of a sudden you had a new partner. And you don't have to talk to your partner if you don't want to, which I like that idea. I'm finding out that I text him and talk to him all the time just because he's a nice guy. But it was just really easy and seamless. And I really recommend it. It was just a really nice process. I always worry about what I don't know. And Partners in Aviation knows what they're doing. Getting rid of risk is everything. And so I think Mark and Partners in Aviation does just a great job of that. And so anybody on the fence, I would say, it's such a minimal cost to try. And it's not a process you're locked into when you first say, yeah, I'll give this a try. He's gotten rid of all the things that you don't know. So you can just do it right. First time.
So the message that I would like to bring to this crowd is that we want to be a provider of this service to everyone in the industry that's a service provider to our customers. We don't compete with the dealers and the brokers. We don't sell airplanes. We're not interested in selling airplanes. We don't broker airplanes. We're not interested in brokering airplanes. But for those in the industry that do that and do that well, we would like to be a conduit and a new tool in your toolbox to help you with customers that might fit this model. If you're an aircraft manager and you're at the top of your game in this industry, we would like to visit with you, and we would like to help you build your business model if you're willing to take on straight Part 91 management. For the OEMs in the crowd who, and I lived in that world for 35 years, who we've always talked about how do we not just split the pie differently between us, but how do we grow the pie. We believe that we've got an avenue here to bring used buyers in to become new buyers. And I'm happy to say we've accomplished that with one of the OEMs in the room here today. And we did that with two guys. We didn't pirate business. We brought two guys together that would have never bought a new airplane. But at 50 cents on the dollar, they did. So we think we have an avenue to bring incremental business to the industry. So any service provider in the industry, you probably know people in our space that fly that 100 to 150 hour a year that may be a candidate for this model. And if you do, we would like to help you along the way, in building your business. And that's the program. I appreciate the time and happy to take any questions.
Okay, we've got some questions on Slido. Which one do you want to start with? Bonus depreciation or a fun one?
So how much did you have? Well, with depreciation, yeah, so as I said, we've got tax counsel on our team as well, aviation tax counsel. And the airplane is treated for each co-owner as if he's a sole owner. And he treats his, if it's a $10 million airplane, he treats his $5 million asset just as if he was a sole owner for depreciation, for tax, and for title. And it doesn't matter what the other guy does.
Mark, from Sean Dining, what happens when one partner wants out?
So we didn't get into the exit part of the program because it takes a little while, but basically, in the old DIY partnership model, the deal was when somebody raised their hand and said, I want it out, the other partner would have right of first refusal to buy that share, and if he didn't want it, then they would liquidate the airplane. In this program, we wanted some stability. We looked at the fractional model, which is a five-year term. That was too long a term for the customers that we were talking to, so this is a 3-year term. There's exit options during those first 3 years, but those options do not affect the other co-owner. And then at the 3-year term, there are options for extension and options for buyout, but it's basically a 3-year program with options both pre and post-term.
Right, and Chad's asking, are co-owned aircraft operated under Part 91 or 91K?
Not 91K. There is no interchange. This is 2 operators and 1 airplane. So
Right.
straight Part 91.
Any more questions in the room? Anyone want a half share of an aircraft? Okay, thanks very much, Mark.
Thanks.
That was great.